Back with you here on Gridiron. This is our Red Hurricane Minute with Larry Kelly, where we rehash a little bit of last week's game, which was a road game against Beaver, 20-14 loss. Larry, it's all yours.
Well, I read the game story. I wasn't at the game. And I read where Newcastle turned the ball over 5 times and committed 10 penalties. And when you do that, you're not going to win very often. And, they were behind, I think, 20-0 when the weather came in. And they ended up closing the gap on Saturday morning, made it a 20-14 game. But I guess, if you went back and looked at the tape and you looked at the turnovers and you looked at the penalties and how they occurred and when they occurred, that would be your answer for, the ultimate outcome of the game, 20-14, a game they lost. And, you can't do it. It's sports are sports. Look, I'm not a football coach, as was aptly pointed out by Coach Belando the other day. But sports are sports. I could say this. I coach basketball. In basketball, you can't turn the ball over. You have to be able to create points from your defense by turning the other team over. In basketball, you can't commit silly fouls. It's the same in football. You can't turn it over 5 times. I don't know that we turned them over at all. And you certainly can't commit silly penalties. So the equation is the same for both sports. You turn it over, you commit silly fouls or silly penalties, and there's a pretty good chance you're not going to be the winner at the end of the game. And that's what happened to Newcastle on Friday and with the weather delay on Saturday.
Years ago, and I would say many years ago, it just kind of stuck with me. I was watching a game. I don't even know what sport it was. Maybe football, could have been basketball, baseball, I'm not sure. But an announcer basically said that a team takes on an identity of how something goes basically from the start of the season. So an example would be if Newcastle's first game, they committed 2 or 3 turnovers and had 14 penalties, that's probably who Newcastle is going to be, especially if it keeps happening. Week 2, if it happens, week 3, if it happens, here we are, they've played 7 games. Maybe that's just their identity. Maybe they're just not a very disciplined football team. They're mistake prone and they just can't get past these penalties. Some teams are a first half team where they come out blazing, and in the second half they shut it down and they can't get more than a field goal or a touchdown. Maybe some teams are very slow starting, and then the second half, after they get the halftime adjustments, maybe that's when they pick it up. Teams have these identities. I don't know if you agree with that or not. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think teams do take on a certain identity, and most of the time you play within that identity. Now, there may be times that you don't. You may have a basketball team that, protects the ball and doesn't turn it over and creates points from their defense. And all of a sudden there's a game where they do turn it over and, they are out of character, as you say. I think a better way to say that is all teams have a certain character, they have certain character traits as to who they are and what they've become. Mm-hmm. And, unfortunately, Newcastle this year has become a team that's committed a lot of penalties and has turned the ball over. And it's tough to win when you do that.
Sure. I know in years past, when talking to Joe Cowart for playoff previews, he would tell me, Ron, we haven't played our best football yet. And that's what excites me, is we haven't played our best football. I'd like to see what it looks like, but we're in the playoffs and, maybe we can play our best football in these games. The way they've won a few games. They've had a lot of penalties, had a lot of turnovers. I think Joe would be the first to tell you we haven't played our best football. I know the last time I saw him when they beat Montour, he pretty much said that they haven't played their best football game. So that's encouraging for Newcastle. They haven't played their best football game. Maybe they can put it together down the stretch these last 3 weeks.
Well, when they did play Montour and beat them, and that was a good team that they beat, it was a game where they didn't turn the ball over a lot, as I recall, and didn't commit a lot of penalties. you can't turn it over, and you can't commit penalties that either put you behind the sticks or give the offense free yardage. You just can't. You can't do it. You're not going to win. And, you're dealing with young athletes, and it's tough to get them locked in and laser focused. And, Newcastle basketball, we pride ourselves on that. But yet we've had a few games, where we fell out of character and things happened that cost us the game. And, you got to limit that. You have to be focused. And I think penalties is a matter of laser focus, just being locked in. And of course, turnovers, you got to protect the ball. And if you don't, you're not going to win.
There's one thing I learned growing up around here. People should look out for each other. Be friends and neighbors that you can count on. So it bothers me when people who are hurt in automobile accidents get bullied by the insurance company. I don't let bullies run over my clients. I do what I was taught growing up. Step up, stand up, and speak up for those who can't. I'm Larry Kelly, and I'm a Newcastle guy.
Okay, we're back with you here to close up shop here on Gridiron for the week, and we are going to have the scheduled portion of the show. And this week, like most of our weeks, we have games on Friday and Saturday, although this is an odd Saturday because we have multiple games on a Saturday. First off, Friday, October 15th, we have we have 5 games, it looks like, on the docket. First off, we will start with Newcastle, 1-1 in the Parkway, 4-3 at Blackhawk, 0-2 in the Parkway, 2-5 overall. This could be a loser leaves town match. If you're talking about Blackhawk, Newcastle can pretty much eliminate them from playoff consideration. Or if Blackhawk gets a win here, boy, it's going to make things awfully difficult for the Canes moving forward, Larry.
The game's at Blackhawk, but again, I think Newcastle is better. They'll win if they don't beat themselves. They turn it over 5 more times and commit 10 more penalties, they're probably not going to win this game. But, I think they're more talented than Blackhawk. And, if they take care of business, and I keep saying that, they'll win the game. But can't turn it over 5 times. Can't do it. Can't do it and win a football game.
Let's start off on the ground floor first. Let's try to get a little bit of positive vibes here for Newcastle. In the last several years, the defense just has been shredded with allowing so many rushing yards or giving up a lot of points, what have you. Are you encouraged with the defense? Because
absolutely.
I've seen a lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even last week, again, they only gave up 20 points and had 5 turnovers.
Okay.
So that means defensively, you're doing a pretty good job. And they've been pretty stout defensively all year. They really have. The first couple games, they gave up a few, but I think defensively, they've been a lot better.
Okay. So we can agree on that level one, they have that taken care of, and that's the defense. It's just going from there. It's got to be cleaned up with the penalties and the turnovers moving forward. Okay. Here's an interesting game. Elwood City, 0-4, 0-5 at Riverside, 0-4, 0-6. Class 2A Midwestern. If this were a college or NFL game, Ron Poniewasz would say, I want no part of the betting action on this. I will abstain. I wouldn't know who to pick in this game to save my life. Elwood City or Riverside, crosstown rivalry. These teams don't like each other, and they don't like being winless either, Larry Kelly.
Well, I could tell you that, Riverside has a football pedigree that's pretty strong. And for them to be 0-6 is really troubling. Elwood struggled in the last few years, but Riverside has not. But Riverside has a new coaching staff, and they're playing a lot of young kids. Elwood, they just, again, it's a culture thing down there. It takes a long time to change it. My kids went to Riverside High School, and there's a natural animosity between Riverside and Elwood. I could tell you there is. So this will be a hotly contested game. It'll be spirited. I don't know who's going to win it, because it's not even like a road game. I mean, the two schools are about 2 miles apart. And so therefore, it'll be a good game. It'll be a game worth watching.
Do you expect a 7-6, 8-6 type of game, or do you expect maybe 34-28? How would you handicap it if you had to?
I don't think that either offense is explosive. I know Riverside likes to run the football, so I don't expect a high-scoring game. But you don't know. You just don't know in a game like this.
Hey, we don't get to break down Elwood City games very often, so.
No, we don't. It's again, if I had to pick a winner, I'd probably pick Riverside, only because they have a football pedigree. They have, and they've been good in years past. They've had a lot of really, really good teams down there. And Elwood, has struggled for the last 3-4 years.
All right, Union 1-3 in the Big 7, 3-4 overall at Fort Cherry, which is 2-2 in conference, 4-3 overall. As I mentioned, Big 7 matchup. What does Union need to do to put those the last three games, in the rearview mirror, and how difficult is that to do, to get rid of?
Well, I mean, first of all, they need to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. Are they going to bring a full complement of players? Because when they do, they're explosive.
Right.
They've scored a boatload of points this year, and they have an explosive offense. It's going to be a tough game for them because it's a long bus ride to Fort Cherry, and Fort Cherry's a pretty good football team. So this will be a tough one for the Scotties. It really will. But they need to be healthy. When they're healthy and they can put all of their first-line players on the field, they can beat anybody.
Laurel 4-0 in the Midwestern Conference, 7-0 overall at Mohawk, 3-1, 4-3 overall. Again, Midwestern Conference. This is conference supremacy. A Spartans win here pretty much. I don't want to say it pretty much locks it up, because Neshannock will have something to say about that in a couple of weeks. But it'll basically bring it down to Laurel and Neshannock here in a couple of weeks.
Mohawk had a tough task against Beaver Falls. They got blown out, but I think what happened is what I was afraid might happen, that Beaver Falls, with all those athletes, broke some long touchdown runs, and Mohawk didn't make them grind the ball down the field, 10, 12, 14 play drives, because Mohawk's pretty stout up front. I didn't read the stats on the game. I'm just guessing that's what happened. There may have been a few turnovers there, but I think Mohawk matches up well with Laurel. Mohawk does a pretty good job on the offensive line, but Laurel is this year's class of Lawrence County, and I don't see them losing this one. They're just too good.
Yeah, and Mohawk quarterback J.C. Voss missed last week with COVID-19, so he was out with COVID.
And there's the answer, Ronnie. I didn't realize that, to why the game got out of hand. This kid's a really good player, mm-hmm. and he's a good defensive player also. He plays both ways. And I don't know who they had in the quarterback spot, but, it could have been a young, inexperienced player. And going down to Beaver Falls, if you're going to win, you better have your full complement.
I want to say it was Mark Conti, the kid that caught maybe 4 touchdown passes the week before, and that's tough when you have to pull your star wide receiver from that position and to play quarterback, but especially against Beaver Falls. The one nice thing that Mohawk will have going for themselves this week, if it gets to this point, if Laurel gets up 14 points, Mohawk can throw the ball. They're very good at throwing the ball, so they won't be out of their element. It won't be like a classic case of Army playing Nebraska or Florida State or something, and they're 3 touchdowns.
Mohawk's a good football team, and I listen. I expect this to be a really good football game. Yeah. I do. I just think Laurel this year is the class of Lawrence County, and they got the McCoy kid back there, mm-hmm. who's been so far unstoppable. He's a stud, this young man, mm-hmm. and it'll be a good game, but I think Laurel in the end pulls it out.
Okay, Neshannock 3-1 in the Midwestern Conference, 6-1 overall. That lone loss against those Mohawk Warriors at New Brighton, which is 1-3 in conference, 2-5 overall. Larry, Neshannock going on the road, looking to stay focused on this game and not look ahead down the road to that matchup with Laurel.
Well, they got beat a couple years ago at New Brighton, and it was an upset. And New Brighton is a better football team at home than they are on the road. Neshannock knows that this is not going to be a cakewalk, but they're playing good football. They really, really are. They got their quarterback back. The young Weaver boy had another great game last week. They got it going. And so I think that they beat New Brighton on Friday, and it'll be a great matchup, them and Laurel next week.
Johnny Huff also came back last week, so the Lancers are starting to get healthy, starting to get get into form, right down the stretch.
Well, that's key in a high school football team, and again, even at Neshannock, it's a bigger school than Union, but when you start going to the second line players, there's a drop off in the talent level. But Neshannock really has, maintained their ability to run the ball and perform offensively, without their quarterback for a couple of games, and Cameron Owens still isn't back with concussion symptoms, but they're playing good football.
Mm-hmm. Those games are Friday night at 7 p.m. Saturday, we have two games. First one is Kennedy Catholic at Wilmington. Kennedy Catholic is 1-4 in District 10, Region 1, Classification 2A. 1-5 overall at Wilmington, which is 4-1, 4-2. Larry, we don't get to say this too often, and we don't want to say it at all, but Wilmington's coming off a very ugly loss last week, 54-0.
Listen, Farrell may be the best football team in the state of Pennsylvania in their classification. Any team that can beat Wilmington 45-0, was that the score?
54.
54-0 is a juggernaut. And, Wilmington's still a good team, but the Farrell Steelers are special this year. I see Wilmington taking care of Kennedy Catholic, and they'll get another shot at Farrell. But this Farrell team's special this year.
Yeah, Kennedy's one of those classic cases of wrong place, wrong time. You don't want to go up against a team like Wilmington when they're coming off a game like that, because Brandon Fillion and the rest of the coaching staff is going to have them buttoned up for sure. They'll be ready to play, and then those kids are going to be angry. That's a taste in their mouth that they don't really have very often.
Ever, like ever.
Yeah, and when they have had it lately, it's been against Southern Columbia, and they've had all off season to stew about it. So Shenango last game, 2-2 in Big 7, 2-4 overall. Winners of 2 straight have the Wildcats against Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, 3-1, 5-1 overall. This will be 7 p.m. This will be held at Moon, again in Big 7 conference action. Olsh could have lost last week. Instead, they won. They're 3-1 in league. Shenango, if they can get it done, if they can do what Union was on the verge of doing, it'll pretty much put Shenango in that position of going to the playoffs.
Upset special right here. And I know I'm a homer.
No.
Yeah, no, I am. But listen, I like what the Wildcats are doing. I do. They're stout up front. They got a good offensive line. They can run the football. And the thing about running the football in a high school game is you control the clock. I'm a firm believer still that you need to run the football in high school and in a high school football game to be successful. And it looks like they found the answer here. They've been moving players around, trying to find right spots, and that's what good coaches do. You got to get the guys in the right spots, and it looks like they found the ticket, and I like the Wildcats on Saturday.
Okay.
My upset special.
That's your upset special.
You're hearing it here first. It's my upset special. If there's a line on a game, I'm telling you to bet the Wildcats.
Okay. All right.
Because I know you like to get, you like a little action.
Just a little action? I try to max out all the potential I can out there, Larry. All the possibilities I can.
I know. They call guys like you sportsmen. You're a sportsman.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, that is all we have for this week here on Gridiron. We hope Larry's insight on football is improving. Hopefully, he'll get a better grade.
Well, here's all I'm saying. You know, Coach Belundo and some of these other guys, they want to talk. My record at the Newcastle News for picking winners held for 25 years until I think Kayleen beat me one year by one game. For 25 years, I had the record of picking the games. So, you know, if Coach Belundo, Coach Mangino, Coach Latina, they want to weigh in on this program, the award-winning Gridiron program, they're more than welcome. You know, we take all comers here. We're not afraid. They could be guest prognosticators. And, you know, I'll take my shot against them. Listen, we don't back down from anybody, do we? See, what they forgot is that this isn't just Gridiron, Ronnie. This is the award-winning Gridiron Show. That's all. Coach Belundo got a lot of trophies in his office. He doesn't have any journalism awards, though.
Well, he might, you know. Hey,
No, he doesn't. I can tell you he doesn't have any journalism awards in his office.
You're right.
And I know two guys that do.
You're right. You're probably right. He probably doesn't. But given the platform, Larry, he's a winner. You better agree with that. He's a winner.
I'm all right with that. No, he's the best coach in Western PA, if you're asking Larry Kelly, you know. But all I'm saying is, you know, until you have some journalism pedigree, you know, you shouldn't be commenting too much on the award-winning Gridiron Show.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, that is all we have for you this week here on Gridiron. He's the ever-opinionated Larry Kelly, and I'm Ron Poniewasz. Enjoy the games, everybody. Good luck to all the coaches and players around the county as the playoff push has more than begun. We'll be back here next week on Gridiron to tell you how things are shaping up. Until then, Larry Kelly, Ron Poniewasz. We'll see you next week.